All right, we're here with Johnny Morales at Oakland Guitars. We're here to talk about strings. So you mentioned the Gabriel Tenorio strings.
Yep.
I'm very curious about those.
Yep.
Those seem to be in not only high demand, they just seem to be like possibly some of the best strings that I've heard players use. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
get rave reviews. Can you tell us more about those?
Yeah. I'm a dealer here in Northern California. I think I'm the only place you can get them right now, here in the Bay. But they're my favorite string, period. Um, Out of the box, I've never had a more consistent experience with strings. Obviously, every pack of strings is unique to itself, whether it's one of the bigger companies, whether it's a smaller company. You will run into times where you open up a pack, you start to set up your guitar, and maybe a string's dead, or there's a kink, or it just won't intonate properly. That's common, that happens. From my experience, these strings don't have those problems as consistently. I think I've only had one set of strings that I've opened up the box and been like, huh, here's a kinked string. I've been using these strings myself personally since 2018. And I'm just a believer in them. I think that they're consistent and the quality's there. I like the story. And being an offset guy, and somebody who likes guitars with a vibrato or tremolo system, the fact that he makes a string that specifically is catered towards that guitar, I think is really cool. I think it's a really unique recipe that he's cooked up with the way that he does his wraps, the exposed core at the ends. I think it's a really unique idea. And from my experience as a player, they just last. I don't think I've ever broken a string either.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm not the world's most heavy-handed though. So, and I play a heavier gauge string. That helps.
Sure. Well, that sounds awesome. Let's check them out. Let's go
Cool.
over to your workbench and check them
Yeah.
out. All right, so we're here at Johnny's workbench with a pretty awesome Fender Jaguar that's strung up with the Gabriel Tenorios. And let's learn a little bit about what's going on exactly with these strings. I guess I'd love to start down here. I'm
Hmm.
curious about this
The
extra,
wraps.
the wraps. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
tell us about the wraps?
So this is the actual set that I've put on my made in Japan Jaguar. It's Gabriel's 11 to 50s, specifically for Jags. You always look at the top, it'll tell you which string it's for.
Right.
So the cool thing about these strings, you asked right out the gate, is the extra wraps. So a lot of players who play Jaguars, Jazz Masters, and guitars of the like, of this ilk, uh, typically down here is where you'll see a lot of string breakage. And Mike Adams and a bunch of other guys will show you that what they do is typically they would solder some extra beads of solder up the shaft of the string to help with the break angle string kind of tension issue that would cause the string to break down here. What Gabriel's done is on a typical string, it's maybe the wind is maybe half of an inch up. Well, Gabriel's is significantly higher. So it's specifically catered to this type of tremolo system, this kind of mechanism.
Right.
It's going to help with the integrity of the string over a longer period of life. Um, and also, if you're one of those people who like to do the Jazz Master Jaguar behind the bridge thing,
Right.
it doesn't kill that sound. So having the extra material isn't a disservice to the behind the bridge stuff either.
That's very cool. What are some other features of these strings?
Yeah, so right now this is a nickel steel set for a Jaguar. And one of the most important things, and there's a little card that comes in every pack of his strings. I'll pull
Right.
it out real quick and show you. It tells you that yes, it is long enough. And what that means is typically on a string, you will have your wraps that go all the way up into the the tuning posts, into the pegs here. Well, Gabriel Strings is a unwound core. And what that helps with is, again, string breakage. It helps with the string not slipping, so tuning stability. And from my understanding, it might help with intonation as well. I don't know 100% about that, but just from a string slipping, cleaner wraps point of view, when you're setting up a guitar,
Yeah.
way less messy,
Right.
way less confusing, in my opinion. It makes the string more stable
Cool.
because it's gripping with a solid core wrap and nothing else is getting into the way of it.
Right.
I like a little bit heavier gauge string on a shorter scale offset or an offset in general because of the wingspan. So specifically the 11 to 50 set, the 11 to 52 and a half set, or on a Jazzmaster, the 11 to 50 or 52 plus set is what I like, because you have the extra distance here and then the extra distance here, obviously. It makes the guitar feel, I think, more stable, especially when you're using the wiggle stick. It makes the guitar not feel like you're playing rubber bands,
Yeah, sure.
in my opinion. And yeah, they're just consistent strings. I've never had an issue with them personally.
Awesome, man. Yeah, nothing I hate more than playing some rubber band strings.
There's exactly. And the other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about with strings is they're pretty important.
Sure.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
important part of your instrument, right?
Often overlooked.
Right. And if you don't have a string on your guitar's not going to play, right? So I think, yes, they are an investment. Yes, they are. At first looking at them, you're like, whoa, $25 or $35 for a pure nickel set. You're like, what? I'm just going to buy another brand that is $6.99 or $11.99 or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But from my perspective, in my opinion, if you're like me and you like a specific type of guitar, I want the best thing for that guitar. Whether it's, part upgrades, pickup upgrades, wiring upgrades, maybe sanding down the back of the neck so it feels a little bit more satiny. That may be your preference. But for me, I like my instruments to look good, feel good, play good. And the most important thing is, I think, starts with the quality of strings. And if you're somebody who has a $20 to $30 string budget for a year, I'd say go broke and good luck breaking a set.
Go
Because,
all in.
yeah, you might as well. And you might as well have, I think, probably one of the best set of strings you can.
All right, so we're here at my home studio with my Strat, which I've put a set of these DR strings on. These are budget-friendly strings. These are $7, so you get 4 sets of these for one of the Tenorio strings that we'll try in a bit. But I feel like if you maybe break a lot of strings, if you're playing a band that like really has rockin' shows and one set of strings per show is kind of like your limit, these might be more of your option. But let's check out how they sound on my Strat. All right, so now I strung up my Strat with some of the Gabriel Tenorio strings. Let's check those out. I have to say that after playing these Gabriel Tenorio strings for a little bit, I definitely understand what all the hoorah is about. I think these are pretty awesome strings. If you're a player who's been playing long enough to really appreciate something like a really good set of strings, it's kind of like appreciating really good tuners or really good pickups, you know, just really good pieces of your gear end up mattering more if you've played more. So I've been playing for about 20 years, and I can say that these are definitely some of the nicest strings that I've ever tried. They feel great, and they're just super responsive. Feels like the input is equal to the output. Like everything you put into playing a note is what you get in the output. And sometimes I feel like maybe that's lost. Maybe it's not because of the strings. Maybe you have a different experience. It's funny because with gear, we're all on a personal journey and we're not all chasing the same sound. And so that really has to do with, you know, what kind of music we're playing, what our goals are sonically, who we are influenced by. It has a bunch of things that go into, you know, what influences what you might want from a gear perspective. So strings, I love to bend strings. I think that I've heard that these strings just really last. You don't have to change them that much. They don't break very often. That sounds really great to me because I like doing huge Albert King style bends, and I'd love to just be able to do that on one set of strings for a long time. So I think if you're an advanced type of player who's wanting to take your tone to the next level, you should check out these Gabriel Tenorio strings. They're no joke, they are awesome. But no matter where you are on your personal quest for tone, I'd recommend you get your hands on as many guitars, strings, amps, pedals. You never know when something's gonna be really inspiring for you and actually change your life. So these strings are really inspiring for me. I feel like I've got some new sounds I want to make out of them. Certainly feels great. Feels like the glove fits right off the bat. If you're curious about these strings, we have a link in the description below. And if you want to support the channel, it would help out a lot if you liked, shared our video, and subscribed to the channel. Be sure to stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you next time.